see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face.
Oh, I'm from Brooklyn.
Hey, get any?
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
What's up, everybody? Happy lazy day. This is the day everybody goes to work and does nothing because it is Super Bowl Monday. So welcome to Coast to Coast. I am your host, Pags. I've got Bo next to me. McLovin will be on shortly. How you doing, Bo?
Doing good, my man. How about you?
You know what? I feel like we are on the clock now because the season is over, and obviously an interesting game yesterday. A very interesting game. Lots to talk about with this one here. It's kind of went back and forth. Kind of a lot happened. Obviously, the first playoff game with the new rules. The 49ers had no idea about it. The Chiefs had been there and known all the rules about it. And, the 49ers are like, oh, yeah, if we score, we win, right? No.
That hasn't been a thing in a long time. Like that seems crazy to me that they didn't know what was going on.
I think that's, I'll be honest, an excuse. That's just an excuse. I don't know.
Well, I mean, and even if you thought that, when they're like, hey, the defense has to get out there now, I feel like maybe you should be like, oh, I guess we're still playing. Like, whether you knew the rules or not, I mean, I don't know.
How do you make millions of dollars and not know the rules? I mean, let's face it. You're going to play the biggest game in your life, and you're not sure of all the rules.
Well, especially one that has had a lot of hype about it, right? Like, there's been a lot of talk about this new rule because of what happened last year, right?
A couple years ago.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's no way I'm buying that these guys hadn't heard about this rule. Like, there's just no way.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that there was absolutely, they knew about it. They knew that if they only kicked a field goal, they might have thought like, hey, they scored a touchdown, the game would have been over. But even in regular overtime now, you kick a field goal, the other team gets the ball back.
Yeah, and that's been 5 years, right?
Right.
So, I mean, it's not like these are new. These are ones that a lot of these guys came into the league and these rules were already in place. So, like, these guys are acting like, oh, they just sprung this rule on us. Like, no, this rule's been around longer than most of these guys been in the league at this point.
Exactly. And I feel like it was just a way for the 49ers to make excuses and whine a little bit on why they didn't win the Super Bowl.
Yep. Now, as soon as they didn't punch that in, I was like, you guys are in trouble.
Right. And I guess it did get a little nervous for Kansas City because they wound up on fourth down.
Yep.
On their side of the ball, on their side of the field. And they wind up getting that first down. Mahomes is able to, rush for like 5 or 6 yards. And
absolutely. I mean, at the same time, on the Niners' first drive in overtime, they were facing a 3rd and long, and if not for a defensive holding, that was going to be a real problem too. So,
oh yeah, right away, like they would have had to punt the ball away. You know what? My thought on that, because they wound up having like an 8-minute drive,
they did.
And I was watching. I guess something from Instagram with Chris Long.
Okay.
And they were showing how the quarter was coming to an end. And he's like, what are they doing? How are they not calling a timeout here? Like, it's like figuring that if the quarter ends, the game's over. That's not the case.
You can't end in a tie. Yeah. I mean,
it wasn't. No. In overtime.
I know.
They weren't tied up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It would have ended the game. Yeah.
No, it wouldn't have ended the game. at actually they started a new game, so they get to finish out their possession. I thought it was going to go to a second overtime.
Yeah, I
I
thought it
literally
had to
thought,
be tied. I thought it had to be tied to get into a second overtime.
no, not the case. It's
Interesting.
the referee said, it's like a new game. We are starting a new game.
Sure.
The half, everybody gets three timeouts in the half,
Yep.
and if it went to zeros, they would have switched sides and gone to the other side of the field. They had to finish that drive. It wasn't a matter of, hey, 15 minutes and you're done.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay. So you can't occupy the entire quarter, kick a field goal, and get the dub. The other team gets a possession no matter what.
correct.
Okay, so I misinterpreted that rule. So okay, I mean, fair enough.
Yeah, it was funny because they were thinking the same thing, and I'm like, no, this is going to go into second overtime. I love this. Like, I love the idea of the fact that it's going to go to second overtime,
Yeah.
but it didn't. With just about no time left on the clock,
Yep.
that touchdown is scored, and Chiefs win the game. Patrick Mahomes gets his third, Super Bowl MVP and his third Super Bowl ring.
Yep.
Andy Reid gets his third ring, and they are now going to try to get a a three-peat coming up this year.
Yeah, they get the opportunity to go after something that hasn't happened yet. So I mean, you know, that could be interesting. They do have the ability to bring just about everybody back. Um, yeah. So I mean, could be interesting for sure. Obviously, Kadarius Toney gets his second ring. He's one of those guys that doesn't contribute, but somehow gets an A on the project. So good on him.
Hey, yeah, exactly. I got to imagine that. Well, it was his second year, right? He got traded last year
Yeah,
to
yeah.
the
So he
to the
he, he
Chiefs.
got.
Uh,
Yep. This is his second ring with Casey. Yep.
got him. So I was going to say, because anybody who got traded or even cut gets a ring still.
No, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, he was going to get it regardless, but he's still on the team, still present, just not suited up. So that that's got to be rough. That's got to be rough.
Yeah, especially since he was doing all that whining and crying, and
Yep.
yeah, Andy
Well, I
Reid's
think
like,
that's
oh, I
probably
don't know what you're
why.
talking about. He's hurt. He's definitely hurt.
I think that's probably why he was a healthy scratch this time. They're like, we're not even going to lie about it. You're just not playing.
Exactly, exactly. So, but it's I guess when all is said and done, it's okay. This was it. It was a good game. I enjoyed
Yeah.
it. It made for at least good to watch.
Yep.
There was a lot of people that liked. A lot of people liked the Chiefs. A lot of people liked San Francisco, and it went back and forth some. I felt that when San Francisco went into the half down by 7, I'm like, all right, this is San Francisco or
Casey. Yeah.
Chiefs. Yeah, KC went down by 7, and I'm like, yeah, they're going to come back out and they're going to score, and ultimately it's going to be whatever. And then they didn't score, and then they only kicked a field goal going into the fourth quarter, and it's only like it's 10-6. I'm like, oh, who knows? Maybe San Francisco can pull this out,
Yeah.
but they did not. They did not pull it out.
They did not.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
So
but
it was a situation where a lot of why they didn't pull it out were self-inflicted wounds, right? That fumble, in positive territory for KC, obviously a huge issue that gets their first score in, right? And then that punt where it goes off one of the blockers' foot, and instead of trying to just dive on the ball, he tries to do a scoop, which didn't make sense because he was actually running backwards anyway, so he would have lost yardage. You'd have been better off to just fall on it. So, I mean, there were some major issues there. Of course, some penalties they didn't have a ton of penalties against them, but they had some very ill-timed penalties that were
yep,
drive killers. And I mean, so a lot of it was they couldn't get out of their own way because they were actually playing better than KC most of the game.
agreed. Agreed. Yeah, that one 5-yard penalty, and then the holding call by Trent
Exactly.
Williams. which
Yep.
was, I mean, that was an absolute killer and something that they just, he knew it right away. He's like, oh man, he's just like he did it right in the middle of the play. He's like, oh, damn it.
Yep.
But and how about the little, I guess you could call it a skirmish of sorts between uh, Kelsey and Andy Reid.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was,
That was interesting because that was just a bad look overall. I even get the frustration, right? Like in the first half, he had what, one catch for 1 yard, something like that. And the play that he had come out on or wasn't on the field for, the tight end that was in, is the one that missed the block that ultimately that guy punches out the ball. It's a fumble. So I mean, I get the frustration. Even if you were going to go up yelling, that's one thing, but to go up and bump into him, and I mean, obviously caught Andy Reid way off guard because he dropped it, dropped his play
stuff.
call. Yeah, like everything. So I mean, it was a bad look overall. And you can bet, had this game gone the other way, if the Niners win right there, the storyline is this is where it all fell apart, right? Like they win and it just kind of gets brushed under the rug a little bit. But had they lost, this would have been the number one headline of, oh, this is where it started. The wheels came off, right?
Yeah, I don't know about that just because of how early in the game that happened and how the
Yeah.
game ended in the tie to get into overtime.
No,
So,
for sure. I'm just saying, had they lost it, this would have been one of the narratives for sure. Like they would have hyped this thing up, no doubt.
so how about Greenlaw getting an Achilles tear just running onto the field?
That was crazy. That was crazy. And you could tell soon as it happened, right? You didn't need an MRI to see. Like soon as he planted and took off, you saw that calf muscle bounce and you're
Yeah. Did I lose you there? We might be
so yeah,
frozen.
you feel bad for him. It's man. Uh, this has been a real problem. But yeah, you feel bad for him because at this point, it also means he's probably going to miss most of next season just because of when it happened,
Right.
and the recovery time required. But yeah, man, it was too bad you weren't here on Friday. Definitely want to ask you about your event, but man, I had some of the worst connection issues the whole time. I think I dropped out at least 10 times over the course of the show. And one of the times I even restarted my computer mid-show just to see if it would help. We ultimately had a storm coming through, and I guess that was the cause of it. But it was it was a frustrating show to say the least.
I understand how I've had them on occasion, so that's
Yep,
why I am right next to my Wi-Fi at the moment. It just makes it
yep,
a hell of a lot easier to kind of deal with it like that. Uh, but yeah, we'll get to my event on Friday after yeah, at the end of the second hour. Once we talk about who won or lost our prop bets of sorts.
yep,
But
yep. I know I didn't do very well on it. There was a lot that didn't work out.
I'm not going to say a word until all three of us are here, and
Yep,
then we will go over and tell you who won and who lost those things. But anyways, just so that Big Dom was at the Super Bowl, and he had nothing to do with this Achilles tear. But I will tell you, being an Italian man, the Maliks are real. You don't mess
uh,
with Big Dom. Anyways, that's actually I'm making a joke about that. Realistically, it's a shame that he was able to do that. He did tear it like right
yeah,
there. They brought the card out. It was, you could tell right away. He was all like over anxious and excited. And he did it
yep,
and fell down, and he must have yelled something really loud because everybody stopped dead in their tracks. They're like, "Whoa, what
oh
just
yeah,
happened?" Um, so it's a shame, and I do hope he gets a speedy recovery. Maybe who knows? You could get maybe some advice from Aaron Rodgers, and be back
yep.
here before the start of the season. You
I
know,
mean, here's hoping. I mean, you hate to see a guy go down like that. Non-contact injuries are always the worst.
yeah, exactly. Um, how do you feel? How would you feel if you are Shanahan?
Man, there's been a lot of hate floated his way, right? Because now he's been in 3 Super Bowls that he lost, all three with over 10-point leads. And I mean, there's
And
there's
this is
some
the
real
second overtime loss, right? He lost in
is
Atlanta. That was an overtime loss.
oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I mean, the man, so there's the case for it because he does weirdly when he's ahead abandon the run, which makes absolutely no sense, right? Which is essentially what they did in the third quarter. They basically just stopped running the ball despite the fact that they were having amazing success running the ball, right? Which you knew they had a chance to do against KC. It was one of the things they weren't great about stopping was the running game. So the fact that they kind of got away from it for whatever reason, I mean, that's a big piece of it because it's not like Brock came up short or anything like that. He was probably as collected and cool as you could have been as fast as that defensive line was coming into his face. So, I mean, I give a lot of props for Brock Purdy, not shrinking in the moment, right? Like he was
Right.
in there and did exactly what he was supposed to do. The fact that they abandoned the run for most of the third quarter seemed absolutely crazy to me.
I agree. I Interesting how first drive fumble.
Yep.
Kansas City getting moving, fumble, things
Yep.
that don't typically happen from two guys that don't typically do it.
Yep.
CMC dropping the ball on the turf, and same thing with Pacheco dropping the ball on the turf. They don't really fumble a lot, and here it is that they're fumbling and such. You think that was nerves?
I'm not sure that it was. It's almost like the ball was slick because that ball, even though it wasn't always picked up by the opposing team, that thing was fumbled like 8 times that day, which is
It was.
crazy to me, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, even if it was nerves, I mean, at that point, you're saying it's nerves by the entire team because everybody dropped the ball at some point. Like, it was very weird. It was a very weird thing to watch.
Yeah, I mean, even I know Kansas City's punter muffed a punt and he had to, was able to scoop it back up.
Yep.
Obviously, that was the big change, the biggest change probably. It's what uh, gave Kansas City some life was it hitting off the back of the foot and the
Yep.
guy was on it. I mean, obviously, you said that it would have been, you probably thought he should have fell on it instead of scooping it up.
Yep.
I think that it was more the fact that the reason why he didn't do that was because of the way he was. He
Yeah.
was kind of like bent over, almost like touching his toes. You're not able to kind of scoop it up in that regard,
Yeah.
or not scoop it up, but not able to really get
Dive
around
on
the
it.
ball in a way.
Yeah.
So, because I obviously caught him way off guard there, and the way it hit off his foot was like, oh damn, I got to go get this ball now.
Yep.
And the guy was in the way, just straight out in the way.
Yeah.
So
Well, and he was trying to clear out, right? Because you saw the guy directing, right? Like he was pointing, like, "Hey, get out of the way," and you could see that he was trying to get out of the way, and his foot was just exactly where it came down. I mean, sometimes you get those kind of breaks, but yeah, and then of course, it comes off and doesn't take a bounce, right? That thing just rockets straight back, and it's just like, well, I mean, there's only so much you can do, but at the same time, man, you almost have, even if you're not in the best position for it, you almost have to just try and jump on it because you're headed the wrong way anyway. And if you are bent over, you have a much higher chance of just kicking it out of your own hand and making the situation even worse. So, I mean, again, I don't know if there was a great path for him to dive on it, but it still would have been a better plan than trying to scoop. But
right,
just because scooping a fumble statistically doesn't work out great, right?
no,
Like if it was a round ball, it'd be a little easier. But since there's some unpredictability of how it bounces, it's hard to scoop and do anything with it.
I agree wholeheartedly. Just to go over some of the numbers, Brock Purdy went 23 for 38,
Yep.
255 yards, a touchdown, had an 89.3 passer rating, and Patrick Mahomes went 34 for 46 for 333 yards, 2 touchdowns and interceptions with a 99.3 passer rating.
Yep.
I was surprised that Kansas City was unable to get the running game going at all.
Yeah.
I mean, Pacheco only rushed for 59 yards.
Yep.
And of course he had that fumble. Uh, McCaffrey, same situation. I mean, he rushed for 80 yards. He did touch the ball 22 times, so it's not like uh, it was. It's not like they didn't give him opportunities. The defenses were playing very strong there on both sides.
Absolutely.
And let's see. Yeah, the turnovers. That's big deal. 2 turnovers for each team. 2 fumbles lost, and of course, a fumble and interception, and 3 sacks by San Francisco, 1 sack by Kansas City. That came at a good time, I think, for them. They needed that. They needed that one. Biggest surprise, all the yards. It looked like out of the 2 teams, San Francisco was moving the ball better,
Mhm.
but only 3 for 12 on third down.
Yeah, they were really bad on third down, and some of that was because of their ill-timed penalties. Right? A lot of those came where it was like, okay, it's third and manageable, and now we have a holding call, and now it's third and a mile. So I mean, like we've said on the show many times, there's only so much in the playbook for third and a mile, right?
Right.
And on defense, that's a very easy thing to defend. Your guys up front, you're going to send, right? And they have a great defensive front, right? So that they're going to put as much pressure as possible. And then they get to do an umbrella coverage where they don't care if you catch it underneath. You're not getting a first down.
Right. And then, of course, you see Chris over there with the missed extra point, but that was blocked. It wasn't missed. It was blocked.
Yes.
Here's the one thing that I really have the biggest issues with when it comes to reporting on a Super Bowl. Hey, if he kicks this field goal, it'll be the longest field goal in Super Bowl history. Oh,
Yeah.
and he makes it. Now he's going to kick the longest field goal in Super Bowl history. Oh, he makes it. I mean, it was just literally, it's like, nobody cares that it's the longest field goal in Super Bowl history. We know now that these guys can kick it from 65 yards out. Let
Yeah.
that be the
We've seen it all
longest field
season.
goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So
so the one I wish they would at least not say until after it's made is, oh, he's made so many in a row. It's like, don't put that out in the universe, right? Because for whatever reason, when they say that crap, that's when they miss. Like, keep that stat to yourself, and then be like, oh, he's made this many in a row. After the fact, that's fine. I'm fine with that. But for whatever reason, there seems to be a weird coincidence to, oh, he hasn't missed one all year. Ha ha! Joke's on you, buddy. Like,
right. It's got he gets New York is what it is. That's
Yeah.
actually called the New York. So, but it's it was an interesting game all the way around. I thought that it was entertaining.
Yes.
It was a defensive battle, which is what we kind of expected. It did still stay under by a half a point. The under does play. And how do I grade? There's a good question. I'm going to let you answer that one first.
Yeah. So I actually liked Purdy's play overall. Right. The moment didn't seem too big. He was pretty calm and good with the football under duress. Right. I mean, that defensive line was in his face a lot, and he stood in there and got rocked many times and still delivered the ball. So, I mean, there was a couple of them that he probably could have had a touchdown had the offensive line given him a half a second more, right? There was that one down the right side. Actually, there was 2 on the right side that you absolutely could have been touchdowns had he had another half a second. So I liked I liked Brock Purdy's performance there. I really didn't get the feeling that the moment was too big for him at any time.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of feel similar. Obviously they lost the game, so it's a little different there.
Sure.
But I mean, I don't think that that all of that was his fault. The play that they wind up that third down play at real close to the end zone in overtime. He got rushed right up. They let Chris Jones just off like that. It was a
Yeah.
blocking problem. Yeah,
Yep.
you can't just have, and he had to throw it away. Ayuk was wide open on that play, like
Yeah.
wide open. Like the
Yep.
defender had fallen down, and he was wide open on that play. Um, but he didn't have a chance to even look at him because you got Chris Jones, coming after you. And
Yeah. I mean, if you're running for your life, I don't care how wide anybody is.
right. So they wind up kicking the field goal.
Yep.
And you kind of knew. You kind of knew that
They
that's
had
like,
to
all
score.
right,
They had to score there.
Patrick Mahomes is going to be the problem here. So,
Yep.
uh, and Patrick Mahomes does what Patrick Mahomes does. That's why he was the MVP. I kind of felt that had they scored a touchdown in
Mhm.
regulation and Kelsey scored the touchdown, Kelsey would have been the MVP. I don't think
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes had did enough
Okay.
to warrant it. And if you were going to score the winning touchdown, whoever scored the winning touchdown was going to wind up being the MVP. The fact that it was a guy who never catches the ball,
Yeah.
who's never out there. It's like I think that was his fifth play of the year that he played. That's why nobody covered him because they didn't see him. They're like, "Oh, who are you? I'm sorry. Did you even,
Yeah.
why isn't he eligible?" But
Yeah.
uh,
No, it's yeah. They,
yeah, it was it.
I,
So
I, I
Patrick
I don't
was
think
third.
I don't think there was a way that Mahomes wasn't going to get that MVP. I think that on the other side, though, CMC had a real shot at being the MVP.
Yes, yes. I mean, obviously he scored the touchdown. That other touchdown pass came from somebody else,
Yep,
obviously.
exactly.
Uh, and that was actually it was a weirdo play too. Like they kind of set it up the right way,
Hmm.
um, and were able to hit it. So I mean, good for them. I mean, obviously it's always a lot of fun. I was having a we were having a drink with Barrett Brooks, who came into my living room yesterday, and he's a
Nice.
Super Bowl champion. And we were talking about how it was, uh, it had been since Super Bowl 40 that a wide receiver had thrown a touchdown pass, and that was Antoine Randall, and he played in that Super Bowl. So he was
Oh,
with
okay.
the Steelers, and he had his Super Bowl ring yesterday
Cool.
when so it's kind of kind of interesting to hear. And we were just talking about like how when it is one of the biggest moments of your life when you're getting ready to go out there and you're on the field and you got all this weirdo nervous energy before the kickoff and it's just like he's like this is like one of the most highest adrenaline rushes of your life. You know that this is like the biggest stage of you know any sporting event ever. You know what I mean? It's just
No doubt.
and there it is. And you need that first hit to get, like I said, like you would have all that nervous energy. You need to get that first hit out of the way
Yep.
so that you can get back to, okay, now it's just a game,
Exactly.
but it's because you get in your own head a little bit and made me
You're
wonder
just so
if
amped up. You're so amped up. You're like, let's go. And then yeah, you need that to be like, okay, now it's just football.
that being said, in overtime, do the nerves come back? Does that like
No.
when
So they kind of don't. And the reason for that is you've already played 60 minutes of football. So you don't have the energy to get that up. Because I mean, you just played the last 60 minutes with the idea of there's only 60 minutes, right? So you're already, digging to the bottom of the tank to keep the energy up anyway. So you don't have that nervous energy, uh, because usually some of that nervous energy is just the fact that you're ready to go and you haven't done anything with that energy yet, right? Because before you do your walkthrough and your warm up and stuff, but you're not going full speed on any of that. So none of that really does anything for that energy level. But yeah, when you go into overtime, you just don't have that much left in the tank, or at least you shouldn't. Because if you do, it means you weren't playing hard enough for the last 60 minutes.
Right. No, and I can get that. But I got to imagine at that point, like, as you're sitting there and you're like, if we miss this, we lose. Like, if we lose like, obviously, if you're in San Francisco and you don't even know the rules, like,
Yeah,
like, we got to win this
yeah.
toss or else we could be done. You know what I mean? Like, there's no
Now,
chance for us.
you actually don't think about it that way. When you go out on the field out for overtime, you don't really have that. You got you go into that thinking we're gonna win. Like that's where your head's at. You're just like, okay, we're going into overtime, and whether you kick away or you get the ball, it doesn't really matter. Because if you kick away, you're like, okay, we're gonna get a stop, no big deal. Our defense has been stopping them, it's why we're tied. Or on the other side, you're like, okay, we're gonna get the ball, we're gonna move it right down the field. Let's go. So that's kind of where your head's at. You don't really think about them ever touching the ball. You're just like, we're gonna handle business and we're gonna win this game. Is really the only thing that's in there. If you are going into it thinking, oh, we might lose, you probably already lost because you've already lost the mental game of it.
Well, I wonder if that's what happened to them, that they kicked the field goal and said, "Hey, we won." Oh no, we didn't, and they maybe thought that was the end of it. I don't know. I I didn't see the defense. I think the defense knew exactly what was going on. You know what I mean? Because they
Yeah.
didn't seem like anybody was like, "Yeah, we just won the Super Bowl."
Yeah. Nobody was jumping around.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, when you were watching, like everybody went out there like they knew what was up. Because otherwise, you would have been out there, pounding the chest and we won and all of this, and nobody did that. They got up and got out on the field. So I don't buy the we didn't know what was going on thing. And I mean, even if you did think that originally, it doesn't matter because you're running out there. You still have to play defense. The thing with
Right.
them is, they had let them score anyway. So I mean, they were already, KC was figuring things out. Like they were starting to move the ball pretty easily towards the end. So I mean, that's where when San Fran kicked that field goal is like, man, that probably wasn't enough.
Right. Actually, it might have been better if they faked it. They were that close.
They were
Would have
close.
been
They would have been fine.
worthwhile. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could have gone. You could have wound up having it as like, okay, it's now they got to go 96 yards.
Yep.
So it might have been it. If it was one of those times to take the chance, because you get the field goal, you're giving it back to them, and next thing you know, it's like, okay, that's now they score a touchdown, the game's over anyways. So if they go down there and kick a field goal, if they just go down the field and get to the 30-yard line and they kick a field goal, well then we lose either way.
Yep.
I get it, but got to
No,
rely
I
on your
mean,
defense a little bit.
I think you take the points because of how far away these guys can kick. I think in that scenario you probably do because it's not like it was, 4th and a yard, right? Like they had some room to get. So I think you take the points there, and you hope that at a minimum you can stop them to make them kick the field goal because then you still get the ball back. So
Right.
I mean, I think you have to get some points there, but to allow them to get into the end zone, that's really where it was a problem.
I understand. And away from the game for half a second, but still part of it. Uh, Listening to the broadcast, did it not sound to you like Tony Romo was applying for a coach's job?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I mean, it literally did. It's like this is what I would do here. This is how I would do this. And he was actually, I mean,
He wasn't wrong.
I agreed with them a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like this was different than it was a different Tony Romo than the yeah, look at this setup and look what he did here and oh, that was
Yep.
just a great play. And he was actually being uh maybe the Tony Romo from the very beginning, but he
Yes.
definitely sounded like he was applying for a coach's job. I even mentioned it to at least at Barrett Brooks. I'm like, does it not sound like he's applying for a coach's job here? And they were like, yeah. So I would not be so surprised if he starts getting. I mean, I know he's got to be making a lot of money doing that, but
I think he could make some money as an OC though, because he does see the field well, right? I mean, he can decipher play. Honestly, he probably would have had more success if he just wasn't so injury prone. But I mean,
Actually, I think he'd have had more success had he had the right offensive coordinator in his ear.
no, for sure.
You know what I mean? Because ultimately, it's like he was doing his thing, and when you first heard him, when he first came onto the scene, and he was calling the plays out ahead of time and stuff
Yep.
like that. That's that was pretty impressive. Hey, pull it back some. You don't want to make everybody else look foolish, but
Yep.
this was one of those games, that I was like, wow, he's got some ideas here that I agree with. I would
Yep.
possibly go for it here, and I would do something here and such. So yeah, I think
And
that
I wouldn't have hated it. I wouldn't have hated it if they were going for it, right? Because I mean, at the end of the day, you do have Mahomes and company that can potentially march down the field. So I mean, I get why you would think about it, but if you don't get it, those kickers can kick from 60 yards away.
right,
So I mean, they don't have to move the ball very far to create an issue. Which is the only reason I would have done the layup there. At the end of the day, they get in the end zone. So unless you scored a touchdown, it didn't matter anyway. But
right. I agree. And again, it was some weirdo play calling right that close. It was, you
yep,
know, I don't know what happened there where the guard didn't pull or something like that. That it looks like it should have been that the one guard pulled and hit Chris Jones on the side to be able to block it because he had
yep,
no protection on that side. There wasn't anybody in motion. There
yep,
wasn't the linebacker or Jusic coming
yep.
in there and blocking for as a fullback. And I tell you, I, he was another one that if he scored the winning touchdown, it's possible he could have been the MVP, Jusic.
Sure,
Because
sure.
yeah, I mean, he
Especially with
actually
that
had a couple of
hurdle
big
job early in
plays.
the game.
Well, that hurdle job wasn't even the big play. I thought
It
that there
wasn't, but
were
it
a
was a
couple
fun
of
watch.
right. There were a few different things that they were doing that I thought could have been that he did specifically. And it's funny that they are the only ones that run with a fullback anymore. He is
Yes.
actually the only real fullback, and I guess that goes back to the old Tampa days because obviously their general manager is a Tampa Bay guy. So, and I got to imagine he's feeling the pressure a little bit because uh, they only have like what did I read today? $570,000 worth of cap space,
Yeah.
and I tell you, there ain't no chance that Brock Purdy comes into camp this year under the same contract.
I mean, I would think he would. Still his rookie deal, yeah.
Still his rookie deal, but you're going to wind up getting. How do you let your client who just took you to the Super Bowl say, "Oh, okay, it's okay. You're going to go play for $720,000." I think that's what he's making, 720,000.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. I'm not doing that. In fact, I'm suggesting to my client that he holds out because they could change it. They can give him more money,
Sure.
and they're going to have to, and they're going to have to.
Yeah.
But they only got $570,000 under the cap right now.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, well, even if they do an extension, he's still going to finish out his rookie deal before the extension would happen. So, I mean, they could sign him to a contract. It just wouldn't necessarily kick in this next year.
But I thought there was ways around that. I've heard that they were able to give more money and stuff like that.
So they can do
It's
signing bonuses and stuff like that. That
right,
stuff can definitely happen. But yeah, I mean, usually you have to play out the contract you're in before your extension starts. Now
right.
there's
But you can get that signing bonus right away, and you could prorate
exactly.
that signing bonus for the couple of years, and that's really what would make it be like, hey, we're going to give you $220 million contract with $115 million signing bonus. So this is going to act as your you know
Yep.
pay for the next 2 years as you are getting ready for this, and then we're going to hit you with $30 million. So like just
Yep.
be like you could almost do a 5 year or a 3 year extension for 125, $150 million, and 125 million is really kind of what, and give the 25 million in signing bonus the first 2 years. Kind of.
Exactly. Yeah. No,
That's what would make sense to me.
you could absolutely do that because you can get those signing bonuses on the contract that you're already in. So yeah, I mean, you could absolutely do that type of thing. But the good thing about doing that is it doesn't disrupt your salary cap a ton today. It hurts as you move
Correct.
forward, but today
Correct.
you can try to still use that rookie pay scale and keep some of those guys to try and run this back one more time. Because beyond that, you're going to start losing a bunch of guys anyway.
Right. Cap space for 2024. Let's see what San Francisco's cap space is. And actually, this says that San Francisco has the most cap space, but that doesn't.
Oh yeah, that's surprising.
$897,000 they pay in quarterback fees. That's how much.
Yeah, if I remember right, he was making like 53,000 a game is basically what it was, and then because they were doing a quarterback comparison, and then Patrick Mahomes was paid, I think it was 56,000 per pass attempt.
That is correct. That is correct.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy numbers.
Oh no! See, I'm getting two conflicting reports here. It's so funny how this works. It's like, oh, they'll have all this cap space, about 37 million in cap space for 2024, and then I have another report that says the 49ers have a projected 1.3 million dollars in cap space next season.
I wonder
And
if
then
it's
another
because some of them will calculate it as if their free agents aren't on the roster, and some of them will
Right.
calculate it if they tried to keep their free agents at the same price that they currently have. I think is why you see some of these report differently.
Yeah, it's okay. So I'm just going to leave that be for now until I can understand more, more about it to say that they do. Like I said, I had heard initially that they only have about $570,000 in cap space, and that their window, because of that, is going to be tough to repeat to get back there again. But I mean, they still do have the people there, and there's still going to be a lot more to be able to do with all of that.
I think they really only have one more shot at it, though. I think it's kind of they're in a spot where they're going to run out of money. I mean, I think they can shore this thing up one more time, and then from there, it becomes real hard to keep talent.
I agree that it's going to be a fight, but they got to make that run back. And I think, of course, everybody's going to be gunning for them now. They're going to have the number one, they're probably the hardest schedule in the NFL.
Yeah,
because they're going to be going up against. Actually, I guess they're not. They're going to be doing against the South. So.
Oh, is the West against the South this time?
I think so, because we have the North. The East has the North.
Yeah, I got you.
So that's just by power of deduction.
Yeah, yeah. I forgot to look who the schedule is against this year. This coming year.
And then, right, and then of course it's they're going to have Dallas and Detroit.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a tough battle there, and. Now you guys get the third place schedule, so you guys get the Giants and Minnesota.
Yeah.
So, interesting. And let me see what else was in the news about this game specific. Was there anything that didn't that threw anybody off? Do you think Shanahan? I mean, do you think Shanahan goes a little? I know this is his third Super Bowl loss here. Does it? It's got a sting, I guess, but does it change the way his coaching style is?
I mean, you should look at how these games came apart and find a common denominator between them. And some of that is the fact that I don't know why they do it, but they abandon the run when they're ahead. And so that is something that if you were going to watch the film, you would have to look back on and be like, why am I getting away from, what am I seeing? Or what do I think I'm seeing that gets me when I'm ahead to completely ignore clock management and just go heavy on passing when the running game has worked, and it's worked each time is the biggest crazy part about it. It's not like your running game was getting stuffed, right? Like you were effectively running the ball. So why you get away from that makes no sense. And it wasn't limited to the Super Bowl. It also happened in the championship games that they lost, right? But at the same time, when you hear people saying, oh, we should fire Shanahan, that's the part that doesn't make any sense to me, right? Like you've been in a couple of Super Bowls here with San Fran, and you've been in a championship game every other time. I mean, you can't really ask for more results than that. So other than actually getting the ring, which this one went to the final seconds of overtime, I mean, it's not like you could be closer. It's not like you got into any of these playoff games and just got smoked. Like you were there to the last second and you came up on the wrong side of it. I don't think that's a fireable offense, really. I mean, you're consistently in the championship game and the Super Bowl, and you've come up a play or two short here and there. That's tough to be like, you know what? You have produced so much success. We're going to try something else.
Right. They must be looking for it. So since that is the case, let's not do this and try something else to do.
Yeah.
It's so odd that it is kind of works that way, but that's what it is. It's
Yep.
and they did show Taylor Swift a lot. Anytime there was a big
Sure.
play, they showed Taylor.
Yep.
And as to be expected,
Yeah.
you know,
But
even when
they showed everybody, though, to be fair. Like they did scroll around and look at all the celebrities, which you knew they were going to do. Yeah.
they do that every year. Do you have any thoughts about the halftime show?
It was all right. It was all right. It like it wasn't. There was nothing amazing about it for me, but like it was solid. Like it was cool. Usher had a good show. It was pretty neat to see Ludacris get out there and stuff like that. But we were wrong on the Alicia Keys thing. She got out there, so
Yeah, like I
and,
said, I thought we would. We knew Ludacris was going to make it out there, but not.
yep.
Yeah, we said that.
It was funny that I really didn't recognize Jermaine Dupri out there. In his outfit, I literally thought it was CeeLo.
Yes, I agree. I thought the same thing actually. Not that I know the difference between them. And hey, and Mama Freebird, hey, listen. And then all you'll have to do, then you'll have the same problem. Instead of running the ball, you'll pass the ball, and heartache, 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 heartache. You know, Marshawn still thinks about that. I was reading something the other day that after he did that play, after that play occurred, that Marshawn Lynch went up to Carroll and
And
laughed in
laughed.
his face.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
he said that on the Club Shay Shay podcast. So if you haven't seen that interview, check that out. It is a great interview. It's about 45
and,
minutes.
and it's the most he's ever spoken in his life. Without
I
saying,
mean,
I'm just here not to get fined.
it's funny. After his playing career, he's been extraordinarily busy. He's been on so many TV shows and podcasts. I mean, he's talked so much since leaving football. It's crazy.
Well, he had to do something, so because he had to pay for that DUI that he got or DWI. Let's call that spade a spade. He wind up getting into a little bit of trouble, so he had to go back to work. He's like, all right, what am I going to do? I can't play football. I might as well sit on a couch and eat a chip.
Hey, I'm not mad at him. If you can get paid for that, more power
That's
to you.
it. I
Although
understand completely.
he was incredibly frugal with his money, though, because he really didn't spend any of his contract money. Really, the only thing he spent was endorsement money. So, I mean, he was actually incredibly smart with his funds.
Well, there you go. But so, like I said, all over, it was a good game. Was there anything specific that you noticed that you thought maybe had a big outcome in the game that wasn't forefront?
I mean,
Like I thought, like for instance, that Trent Williams hold, big situation right there. That was a big play. That was just a penalty because it would have been a first down after that.
yeah, I mean that's kind of where I was going. Is it would have been self-inflicted wounds as far as untimely penalties. Those were the ones that probably hurt the Niners the most. There were a couple that went against KC, but they weren't in the same they weren't in the same position mostly, right? Like every time the Niners got one, it was a like a drive killing type of thing. Or like in that one, they had a 5 yarder and then a 10 yarder and made third and manageable, third and a mile, right? And so those are the types of things that the Niners kind of did. And I don't necessarily know that those were the moment was too big or anything like that. Like that holding play when they replayed it, I mean, it was a holding play. Like there was no discussion. Like there was blatant holding on it. But at the same time, had he not held, like, I mean, that play was blown up. So I mean, you got why he
Right.
held. So I mean, it was just some bad timing on bad play. But that can happen in any game. That's why I say I don't really look at it as the moment was too big necessarily. They just shot themselves in the foot a few times. And then when it came to fumbles, I mean, both teams were having a hard time holding on to the ball.
Right. It was kind of funny when I looked at the balls, and I was out. I've been out to the Wilson facility, so
Sure.
I know.
It looks shiny,
I
right?
now, huh? They looked very dark. They looked
Yeah.
very dark, which made me wonder: is like, did they soak them? Did they did they waterlog them first
I don't know because they were
before?
dark and they had a shine to them.
Well, all the balls have a little shine.
No, for
I mean,
sure.
that's
For sure.
but but this was, and I'll go grab my football that I have from last year's. And obviously it's been sitting for a year. So if there was a shine, I mean, I haven't played with it at all, but if there was a little bit of a shine, that's it might have been that luster may have been lost. But it's just like it did look a little different. It looked very dark.
Yeah.
And that was a surprise to me. I'm like, yeah, I wonder what they did with this ball. It looked like that they had it in water, like they soaked it in water
Yeah.
and then pulled it out. So because once one of those balls absorbs water and then comes out, and even if you dry it, it doesn't go
It's
back to the
still,
same color. It stays dark.
yeah.
So that may have been something that they did. Same thing with, like, you could think that they put on some of that pitching mud that they put on baseballs.
Yeah.
Another situation that could have occurred there, because you're allowed to do some of that stuff. You can't put rosin on the ball. You can't do,
No,
like,
but you can rough them up.
yeah, absolutely. You can deflate the air a little bit. We've learned that.
Yeah, apparently that's fine.
Just not too much. Just but you can deflate it a little bit.
Well, yeah,
So
and even
it's,
if you do, you still get the ring. All that happens is somebody gets suspended for a couple days.
yeah, a couple of games. I think it was like 4 games.
Yeah.
So, and watching the other team, call their plays. That's not okay anymore. We're going to make sure you can't film them and such. But I don't know. It's that all being said, like I said, it was a great game. I keep waiting here. I keep expecting that Jay is going to show up here any moment, so
Oh
we can
yeah.
get his take on it. Obviously, he's like, oh, this happened. Oh, this happened. Oh, this happened. He realized he wasn't doing very well in our pick 'em poll as well. But I'll be honest, nobody did very well on our pick 'em poll.
Yeah. I didn't keep track. I figured you guys did.
Well, I wrote everything down, so we do have the final score on all this.
Nice.
But
Yeah, there were
how
a
about,
couple of them. There were a couple of them I knew I took the long shot on that I was like, oh, that didn't pay off.
you know what? So how about this? Steve Spagnuolo is
Okay.
the first offensive or defensive coordinator in NFL history to win 4 Super Bowls.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting because normally you would think that he would get a head coaching job or anything like that.
Yeah.
I guess the other person would have been Bieniemy, because
Yeah.
I mean realistically, you got Andy Reid winning 3, so Steve would have had to win one. Who else did he win one with? The Giants against Brady. He was the offensive or defensive coordinator that year too. The
Okay.
undefeated season that didn't happen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess I
I mean,
forgot that he was on that staff.
I think he was the defensive coordinator.
Okay. All right.
So I'm almost positive of that. I'll have to. We'll have some of our people here confirm that because I believe that he did. Well, he was the DC on that Giants team
Okay.
that beat the Patriots and broke up the undefeated season, which I was really happy about. It was one of the
Absolutely.
only times I've actually rooted for the Giants.
Yep.
But but anyways, and then I'm trying to think if there's anything else that you know the big was the news that just got repeated a little bit ago was that the 49ers players didn't know the overtime rules before the Super Bowl, and
That still
consequently,
seems crazy.
I want to see if they actually say anything specific, like who does some talking. I didn't even know about the new playoff overtime rule, so it was a surprise to me. 49ers defensive lineman Armstead. Uh,
Okay. I mean, you
Kyle
definitely
Jusick
wouldn't
said he
you definitely
believed the
wouldn't be
club.
excited about a defensive player not knowing.
Right. Said he believed the club decided to receive the ball first after winning the overtime coin toss because that's how teams attack it in the regular season. I understand that. I guess that's not the case. I don't really know the strategy. So I was like, not that I thought, you know, the one thing I will agree with is that if you give the ball up first,
Yep.
that the one thing that he said is like, well, when you have the ball second, you get the extra down.
Yeah,
You
because you
now
know you're
know,
going for it.
right?
Yeah.
You now know on 4th down you have to go for it unless they miss unless they don't score.
Sure.
So
Sure.
that was, and it helped obviously Kansas
Yeah.
City, especially since it was that uh, 4th and 1. And
Yeah.
that's when Mahomes.
If they had the ball first, they probably would have kicked a field goal there.
I, that's what I would think. You'd think that they would get paid to know that stuff specifically. Truth is that Andy Reid made sure that everybody knew,
Yeah.
because obviously they this is the Chiefs' rule. This is actually the Bills' rule. It's the
Yep.
Josh Allen rule, but the Chiefs
Yep.
won because of it.
Yep.
So Josh Allen, uh, is in fact, and it's funny because that rule beat him as well.
Yes.
So, uh, but they made sure to let them know every time that you know every game they were explaining the overtime rules to the Chiefs. So I
I
guess
mean,
you got
that's
to
the
make
thing
sure you know the rules.
is that's a coaching thing, right? Like if your
Yes.
players don't know, right? Sure, they're probably not going to go seek out this knowledge on their own. They're there to play ball, whatever. But it's on your coaches to teach them all the I don't know, coach. It's kind of in the name. Like that seems like important information that maybe your coaching staff should relay to your team.
Right. So I would absolutely blame Shanahan for that. But we'll see. I mean, Shanahan is beginning to become a little bit like Schottenheimer. Gets to the big game or gets to big games and loses them. Although
Sure.
Schottenheimer never even made it to the Super Bowl, he would get beat out. He'd get out coached, before that time. But you know, I got to imagine it's starting to get into his head. And it's starting to creep up into his head a little bit. And then We'll pick up all the celebrities because I'll be honest with you, I have no idea whose celebrity was there or not. I wasn't paying that close of attention. I did see Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Yep.
That was it. Other than that, I don't really know of anybody who was there. I mean, it was just like other than Taylor Swift. I saw that Taylor Swift was there.
Yeah, I mean there
Um,
were a lot of celebrities, but like I don't pay attention to it because I don't care. Um, anytime they were doing those kind of things, it was, oh, let me go get some more pizza or whatever. So
that's exactly correct. That is exactly correct. So listen, he's just pulling up just as we're about to go to the break.
hey, there he is. Time to go.
Welcome,
All
Jay.
right, thanks for showing up.
There we go. So as we come back from the break, we'll have all three of us here, and we will discuss more about the Super Bowl. We'll tell you about what happened with the poll picks, as we did
Yeah.
all of our stuff, and
Yes. I want to
but
know how bad I won. 'Cause I'm pretty sure I won that damn thing, or at least came in second.
well, you'll find out here sooner than later,
I know.
right after we come back after these commercial messages.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this
Oh, I'm
team.
ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face.
Oh, from Brooklyn.
Hey, get an each.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and
Supporting the needs of our veterans. That's the goal of all of us at Team AmVets. Like Mitch, Carlos, and Kevin from our Welcome Home team that brings furniture to our vets.
We are Team AmVets.
Or Linda from our thrift stores who brings you great bargains every day.
I am Team AmVets.
And John, who picks up your thrift store donations that support California veterans programs.
I am Team AmVets.
Visit our website or a Team AmVets thrift store to donate or shop today.
Join the team!
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
And we are back with the second hour of Coast to Coast. Jay McLovin joins us for this second hour. Jay, we've talked about it for the last hour. What were your thoughts about this past game?
Yeah, wow. There was a lot of things going through my mind. Number one, all of it was defense. A lot of defense, especially that first half. I felt like they got away from Christian McCaffrey too much. And I felt like, wow, the first turnover was a damn fumble. Should have known. But I thought it, honestly, I thought it was a good game. I thought at one point they kind of, the Travis Kelce thing, I don't know what they were thinking of it, but they did not get him at all involved. Hardly at all. I think he had like one pass. I'm like, what are we doing? What are they doing? And then of course, in the second half, then you saw them trying to get them more involved. But man, don't bet against Patrick Mahomes. For some reason, he finds a way. And McDuffie, geez, Louise, I like that guy. He's good. He's good, but a lot of defense, a lot of damn defense.
Well, obviously, and like I said, it started off in the first quarter, nothing, which is I kind of expected. I thought that it was going to start off very slow. And then ultimately it was just going to keep going and going, and it is what it is. It finally comes out to that under. It was an under across the board. So
Yep.
at 25-22. They had to kick the extra point, it would have gone over. So somehow, some way, there was a couple of things that were really interesting. Um, even what was it? Ayuk. Ayuk was right at the half. The hook actually saved you if you bet the under on Ayuk because his over under was 49.5. And he had it at 49. The only reason why I even know that is because there was this one guy that I follow who likes to bet. He's terrible at betting. Terrible at betting. And he's so bad. He's such a mush. Is like they're talking about me being a mush. Oh my God, this guy is just like the worst. But he made a four-way parlay, and I was rooting for him. I was hoping that he'd win. You know what I mean? And he had 3 of the 4 legs taken care of. He needed really CMC to score a second touchdown.
Yeah.
And, of course, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But it would have hit. It would have hit had he scored that touchdown in overtime. But then again, Ayuk might have had a chance.
That's every parlay. You always end up with like 4 of the 5 legs. You're like, all right, here we go. And then it's like, just kidding.
Yeah.
Well,
and
but you think about it.
About the 49ers is they took on some injuries. Warner with that Achilles injury right up off the rip, and then they lost a few other guys. And I really thought Debo, he made a valiant effort. The guy made a great effort, but he just was not 100%. You could tell. You can see Debo wasn't 100%.
Yeah, he kept.
They got the ball to him a ton.
They get it to him enough, though. He was definitely out there. They had that. He wasn't just a decoy.
No, for sure. Yeah. No, he definitely got used. Definitely. But
so,
and I really like. Hey, you know what I really like? I really like when Andy Reid, or when Kelsey went up to Andy Reid and he bumped him and damn near almost knocked Andy Reid almost onto the ground. I was like, "Oh, Kelsey, woo! Somebody's pissed."
Somebody's a little fired up right now. So that was absolutely the case there. Well, sometimes that happens. So let's go to our picks. Our picks for our, the rules were we were going to choose every question. It's worth 1 point. The winner is going to be the winner. In the case of a tie, we went to the scores.
Yep.
So, first question was, will the length of the national anthem be over under 99.5? It was
over, baby.
Under.
No, I started it when the first note started, and I stopped it. It was 141. I don't want to hear that crap. Take it back.
Under.
Who started that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you're listening to.
I literally had a stopwatch on it, Bo. And when I heard the first note, I hit start. And when I heard the last note, I hit stop. And it was 141. That's why I was so happy.
Let's see what the Google says.
Google my ass.
I have it under. That's what it says here. That's what I kept the score with.
It's all right. Not the first time in my life we've ever gotten a bad call, is it, guys?
First coach to be shown during the national anthem. Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, I think I put a real on this. I lost that one too. Damn it.
Question number 3. Primary color of Reba McEntire's boots during the national anthem. Black.
Black.
Yes, they were. Will the result of the coin toss be heads or tails? Heads.
I didn't got that. I got that one.
Wait, which one? Because there was one that was tails.
No, it was the first one. Let's not talk about the overtime. Let's not get
open.
Yeah, I know.
All right. Will the opening kickoff be a touchback? We all said yes, it was. Yeah. Will the first offensive play be a run or a pass?
Yes.
I said it was going to be a pass. It was a run.
Yes.
Team to convert the first down. 49ers, we all said KC.
Mm-hmm, we did.
Team to punt first was the Chiefs. We all said San Francisco.
We did.
Team to record the first sack was the 49ers.
Yes.
Will the game's first accepted penalty be offensive or defensive? It was offensive.
Yeah, I didn't get that one. I thought it was
Will the first touchdown be over or under 9.5 yards? It was over.
I put under. Damn it.
Will the first field goal be over or under 35.5 yards? It was way over.
Yeah.
Method of the first offensive touchdown was a pass.
Yep.
Method of the first turnover by either team was an other. Was the other. Was not an interception. Will the team that scores first win the game? No.
They did not.
They did not.
Who will score the first touchdown? It was, you had the choice of 3 people or anybody else. It was Christian McCaffrey.
Yep.
All right, the halftime show questions. Will Alicia Keys make an appearance? We all said no. It was yes.
Definitely did.
Will Justin Bieber make an appearance? I thought that Usher was from Canada. He's from Dallas. So
say it with a chest when you say that. Dallas.
Yeah. No, he's a weirdo. Will Usher wear sunglasses at any point during the performance?
Yes.
No. He did not.
I thought he had glasses on. They took him off.
I thought he did when he came out.
At the very beginning, he had glasses on.
He did not.
Didn't he?
Huh.
He did not.
It must have just been the promo commercial.
Yeah. Will the total number of songs played be over or under 9.5? It was over.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought I had over on that.
Yeah, it was definitely an over there. Will Usher perform "Love in This Club"? You knew it was coming, and that's where I knew Ludacris was going to be out.
Exactly.
And Ludacris was there. So we're at the in-game props. Will both teams score at least 1 point in every quarter? I said no. So did you guys. Will there be a missed field goal in the game? I said no.
And there was a missed point after attempt, but it's not a field goal.
Right. Actually, I said yes, but the answer was no.
Yeah.
Will any player score 2 touchdowns in the game, not including passing touchdowns? The answer was no. Nobody scored 2 touchdowns in this game. Will any non-quarterback record a passing attempt? The answer was yes.
Freaking Jennings.
And went for a touchdown. It went for a touchdown. It was the first time since Super Bowl 40, Super Bowl XL. And like I said, I got to talk about that right away because Antoine Randall L was the one that threw that. And blocking for him was one Barrett Brooks. Yeah. Who will record more passing yards? Patrick Mahomes or Brock Purdy? I was the one that got that one right with Patrick Mahomes. Will either coach win a challenge in the game? No. There was no challenges.
No.
Will there be a score in the final 2 minutes of the game? Yes, there was. Team to score the longest touchdown.
I put KC, which it was Buckner.
It was the 49ers, and it was that same pass.
Where was Buckner they got that? Oh, maybe was it Moody? You said longest field goal. I'm sorry, right? Is that the one?
No, pass.
The
I'm
longest
sorry.
touchdown.
I apologize.
Will Taylor Swift be shown during the broadcast 6 or more times?
Wow.
She was shown 7.
Yeah, but yes.
Which team will win the Super Bowl? Obviously, it was the Chiefs.
Yep.
Will the liquid dumped on the winning coach be colored or clear?
Colored.
I put
It
colored.
was colored.
Yeah.
It was colored. We all put colored. No,
Yeah,
they don't dump water. They don't dump water on
they
anybody.
weren't dumping no water. That's not the NFL. That's high school stuff, maybe.
Yep.
Will a non-quarterback win the MVP?
I put no.
It was yes. Or no. The answer is no.
Yeah.
Not a non-quarterback.
Yeah.
And then the tiebreaker obviously was 47. So, two people had 17 and 18. One person had 22 and 13. The winner of our first ever coast to coast, prop sheath bets on the Super Bowl, Bo.
Good job, Bo.
Bo went 22 and 13.
Nice.
So out of 35, 22 out of 35, we both went just about 500 at 17 and 18. And if it came down to the tie between us, I would have lost because I said 43. He had 49. So unless we were doing the you can't go over rule, which we didn't really set in place, it would have been McLovin.
I still want to challenge the. Can I throw a challenge flag in on the national end? I feel like I need to throw a challenge flag in there. Can I get a replay?
Yeah,
Can we start it over again and hit clocks?
I feel like the one point wouldn't have mattered.
No, it's a personal thing. Damn it.
Yeah, but you can't start it. You started at the first note when when they started to play the song. It's when she sings the song, so it's from the moment she's.
I thought about that too. I said, you know what? Because I thought about that, Pax. I said they're probably going to start when she's for the first word out of her mouth. But everybody knows when you any song you
when
go
the moment she goes with say can you see?
No,
that's
so
all right. It's rigged for Vegas. It's rigged for Vegas.
Jay's used to counting everything before the O. He's not good at math.
Yeah.
No, I'm great at math. And I know that when a song gets recorded, they tell you, okay, song is 5 minutes on a cassette. It's at that first note.
That's your first problem. That's your first problem using cassettes.
Well, CDs they all do the same thing. Hell, even MP3s do it.
Here, hold on. I got something for you. This could be the last time the Dallas Cowboys went to the Super Bowl.
You know what? I bet you I still got the same VHS, you son of a bitch. So if you want to send that to me, I'll put it in my VHS machine.
It is a mystery cassette.
But please put a cover on it. Don't just send it like that because it'll get all messed up.
Here we go.
Yeah, so
here's
there
Robert.
you go. Minute 35, which is under. Barely.
Exactly.
But it's under.
But I like how it goes into the final note, not the final word out of her mouth, because it actually ended about a split second after she finished up with
final note held. And the home of the brave cut.
See, I was a little bit worried because she did that second part twice. So I was like, oh man, am I going to lose that one because she repeated Home of the Brave? I was like, oh no, that could be the difference.
Well, there were.
Hold it a little longer, baby girl. Hold it a little longer.
So, truth of the matter be told, that on FanDuel, they had it much lower. They had it at 91.5.
Oh,
so it actually went over. It went over in that. Other places had it at 99. So
that's
and it's always that extra half a second. They always got to put the hook on that because they don't want anybody to tie. There's no ties. There's no ties in this. So it's going to be like, okay, you got that half a second because they're going to say this is how long it was.
Chris, he doesn't. He's never heard one.
Yeah, he's never been anywhere near the O.
You know, sometimes my mama said, "Don't say nothing mean." So I'm gonna let Chris Wentz have it because Chris Wentz don't know who you are, don't care.
Good stuff.
Oh, say he does not see. But anyways, so obviously we talked about this for the last hour. Jay, was there anything specific that you remember seeing in this game that really kind of, said, okay, this is the answer. This is what we got here.
Man, well, by the time the halftime came around, I was wondering, like, who the hell is going to step up and get into a rhythm on offense? And when I didn't see them getting in any kind of, even in that third quarter, it looked like they weren't really getting it. They didn't really start getting to a rhythm almost even in the fourth quarter. And that's really when Kelsey came alive. So I told my, so the game just, I don't know. It was weird watching that game. It really was. And I really can't believe that Nagy, well, I don't even know if he calls the plays or does anything over there, but even worst case scenario, I'm surprised that Andy Reid, wasn't getting Kelsey. And I knew I think it was maybe the second quarter when Kelsey went over there, and when I thought Kelsey had said to Andy Reid, "Yo, look, she's gonna start hooking up with Brock Purdy if you don't throw me the damn rock." I thought that's what he was saying to him.
I don't think so.
Because he saw in the fourth quarter though who got the rock and who had.
Well, no, I thought he said, "Hey, listen, you got to have me out there," because he got all angry when it was the fumble. He's like, "You got to have me out there, or else she's going to break up with me and then write songs about me."
Exactly. Yep.
Well, there was. Remember that one point where he had thrown. Patrick did something, and then they pan over to Kelsey. Kelsey just holding his hands up like, "Why aren't you throwing it to me? Why aren't you getting me involved in the damn game?" And I think right after that was when he panned over and he went over to Andy and bumped into Andy pretty good.
Well, so interestingly enough, so Kelsey was wide open, but he did throw it for a 51-yard completion. He was at the 30-yard mark.
Right.
So that's the one thing that I like with Andy Reid's play calling and the way they call their offense. They do have that, he looks one way and sees three different guys and is able to tell which one he wants to throw it to. So it makes it really simple. You could check down with one read.
Right.
So that was one of the things that is a staple in Andy Reid's offense. Pacheco, I was surprised Pacheco they weren't able to get anything going around the edges, which surprised me some. Just usually that's where San Francisco's weakness against Detroit. And they were able to do they were not able to recreate it. Kansas City wasn't. And they were getting a little bit of movement up front, but it wasn't as consistent enough.
I thought one of the X factors for Kansas City's defense, though, was Chris Jones. I liked how Chris Jones really got penetration up through the middle and really put a lot of pressure on Brock Purdy. On Patrick Mahomes to go all the way right or left. And as you saw, when he was going closer to outside those lines, he was not effective at all. And I really thought that, I thought the 49ers defensively played Kansas City the best I've seen them get played so far. It really was up to the end when they got him, and they had to go to overtime to do that. But I thought they played the best defense on Patrick Mahomes by far. And I really thought Jones got a really good lock-in on Purdy, really good. It really put him to the limit.
Well, so ultimately, the game is over, and so is the season. The season is over. The Chiefs have repeated their second championship in a row and are going to be on the clock now for their third championship. Early predictions. Do they do it?
The three-peat?
No.
Oh, man. Bo, sometimes you just don't learn, man, betting against this Patrick Mahomes kid, man. Seriously, man, because
it would have already happened.
Twice that I picked KC to win, but I really thought there was a certain point where I really thought the 49ers had this one. I felt like they just keep doing what they're doing, keep the defensive pressure on Mahomes, they're going to get this. And then, of course, Mahomes does what Mahomes does. And they come back and they snatch it out from, regardless. So I think, and they said it at the end of it, they asked me that question. They said, look, man, we're young. And Patrick Mahomes already talking about restructuring his contract, so they keep all these guys under contract.
You like M&Ms, right?
Yeah.
You like M&Ms? Well, I got you a ring.
Oh. Isn't that just cute? So he even looks like Bo too, in that son of a bitch. That's the hairline. But no.
He remembers it. He remembers it as a Skittle.
Oh. Oh my God. No, but hey, look, if they can keep this same team together, right? If Mahomes restructures, does like what Brady did, keeps his team together. Travis already said he's coming back. Who's to say they can't? Has anybody really looked like?
It's definitely possible.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I
the real question is, do they let go of Nagy going into next season and hire another offensive coordinator? That's for me the real answer.
Well, I don't know that you can get rid of Nagy unless he gets a, head coaching job, which there isn't any available right now. He could move laterally, but most of those jobs are taken. So there's a piece of me that thinks that they would possibly bring back Bieniemy because he is really a part of that team still. And,
Right.
I got to assume he was there. He was cut from Washington, so he probably was in that locker room. I
Right.
probably would have expected that because you want to have as many people as you could possibly can helping out. At this point, because that's what I gotta believe. Like you have, that there are certain coaches that come out and help create. Like I got to imagine Joe Montana went and spoke to Brock Purdy.
Oh, you know that. Yeah. If that was a betting thing, I would put money on that one.
Like Jerry Rice talking to everybody and such like that, and then you have the Chiefs where they don't need to bring anybody from the past now because their past is present.
Right.
Yes.
Hell, even Mahomes say, Patrick Mahomes said, "We are not the underdogs." Towards the end of it all, in his speech, he was saying like, "We are not the underdogs," even though everybody keeps, and maybe that's what fuels this team because you see it all the time in Kelsey how he feels like everybody's just against us. That's why he calls them jabronis because put some respect on the team, and people keep not putting respect on the team. So I think that's one thing that can fuel somebody to keep winning. It's just that and that alone.
Well,
and
it is something that
comes back.
It is something that Tom Brady used. It is something Tom Brady used for years, right?
Yeah.
Was he liked listening to people say, "Oh, he's washed, he's old, he should get out," whatever. He did use that as fuel. So
absolutely,
you definitely don't rule it out.
Absolutely, and I think it helps keep people hyper focused and not let them get complacent. And I wouldn't be surprised if Bieniemy came back because even though they won the Super Bowl, there were times when we saw that this was not the same Kansas City team as last year when Bieniemy was there. They did take a dip on the offensive production side.
Well, they also took a dip as far as offensive talent.
Well, I don't know. Did they really? Because who was their number one last year? Was it quote unquote Tony? I think Rice did a better job.
Yeah,
Tony did last
year. It was the amount of drops that just across the offense this year that was pretty crazy.
I can see them bringing back Bieniemy though. I don't know what they would do with Nagy. I don't know if they put him into I don't know what you do with the guy, but I can see them going after Bieniemy. He has a great relationship with Pat, and I think he wants to run it back. I think he's hungry to run it back, especially coming out of the purgatory of Washington.
There is that. Any job looks fairly
you know
good.
what I mean? Like people from the competitive side doesn't want to get back and do everything he can.
Well, if you can land somewhere and collect another ring, why wouldn't you do that? It's a team you like. You've won there before. You have the opportunity to win another ring. I would want to do that.
Right. He is kind of the Josh McDaniels of the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Maybe. Except Josh McDaniels isn't as good as him. So,
and I'll give you that as a head coach for sure. I like Josh McDaniels as a coordinator, just not as a coach or a head coach, I should say.
And I kind of agree with this, Paul. It's I feel like that it is the defense that has helped them tremendously. They are going to run into some cap situations, like Jones is going to go somewhere else. Right? It's like he's going to wind up somewhere else. They don't have the money for him.
For sure.
Which is a shame because he was like the crux of that defense.
Yeah.
Right? He was the one that really brought in all of the rush and made Brock be, quick on decisions and things like that. So it's going to be hard to replace him. And I find it interesting. Like Javon Hargrave, of course, he's been to back-to-back Super Bowls and did the same exact situation, like lost by 3 on both teams. So that's a bummer for him. Not that I really cared too much because he said at the beginning of the season, he's like, "Oh, yeah, had Brock not gotten hurt, the 49ers would have won that game." Like, what are you talking about? You guys were smoking that offensive line. So I don't want to hear about that. You know, yeah, he was just trying to pump up his own team. But
which fair enough.
and that's exactly. So that's ultimately the Super Bowl. I'm sure more stories will come out. Obviously I lost my 2 bets that I made. My first bet was that I bet $5 on the fact that he was going to propose on the field. He did not. There was no proposals. There was no proposals. And I almost won this one. But it would have been $1 million. I bet the $10 million. I bet $10 on whether that the Super Bowl was going to get stopped by alien invasion and end in a tie. I was hoping that the aliens were coming right at overtime. They were going to land and break through the ceiling of the ceiling of the stadium and just land there right during the coin toss. I would have been $10 million richer, and I would have bought you guys some
more or less
drinks.
what the streaker was an alien.
When they said streaker, I thought it was Pax. I said, "Oh, Pax,
No.
they should make it to the Super Bowl." That would have been great publicity. Good publicity. Good publicity.
No, actually, you know what? When you streak in a Super Bowl, you're never allowed in another stadium ever again.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, you're banned for life. Yeah.
Yeah. Not only for,
not just that was it. It's all of them.
It's just
which
football.
also kind of amazes me because truth be told is how do they remember?
They don't.
Yeah, how
exactly.
would
the facial recognition, I guess.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
unless you put a beard on, and
you may not be able to buy tickets under your name, but if you were to get resale tickets, like they're not going to know.
Yeah.
As long as you're wearing a hat and just don't go
Exactly.
streaking again. Yeah, you don't.
I mean,
you don't want to do.
That second part's key, right? Because if you streak more than once, they might have posters of you somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Like, hey, don't let this clown in.
You can't tell me that for the rest of your life he's not a little nervous going through the ticket booth though. Oh, just don't.
I mean, you probably don't go the next year. You probably take
Yeah,
it
you
down.
gotta take a
You let
year
it
off.
cool off.
You gotta take a year off.
Let someone else streak in between.
Yeah, just like I wonder if Chief Saholic made it to the game. Was he able to get a special dispensation from I think the state of Oklahoma, because that's where he got arrested finally for robbing banks. If he was able to get that dispensation to go to Vegas to watch the game, and if he won any money on the bets, because ultimately, they said it takes a lot of balls to go ahead and steal money, hold up a bag, and then bet that money on the Chiefs.
Right. It does let you know how much how expensive tickets are when you have to rob a bank to go to all the games.
Hey, I know all about it, and I don't rob banks.
Well, who would want to be the security guy though that's got to tackle the streaker and put him in the cuffs and all that? I wouldn't want to be that person that's got to touch that guy.
Oh my God! Wow, you say that there was a streaker one day at a Phillies game, and he was running up to because the game was over, and the bullpen guys come out of the bullpen, and the one guy's going up to him, like the one guy's like kind of playing with the guy who's about to run in, and pulls the attention away, and the security guard tackled him like it was in a big open field. It was like boom, and everybody's like, "Oh my!" It went viral. It went viral. I know that guy. I know that security guard. He's an amazing dude. He's like, man, I've been following you for so long, but now I'm getting like all the pictures like you did. I'm like, well, we got to get one, of course, because this is. I feel like you're famous.
He was just waiting to lay that dude out. He was enjoying that one.
Oh my God. The hit was so good. The pitchers were hysterical laughing. Yeah, like the one guy just fell out. He's like, ah!
That's awesome.
It was a lot of fun to watch that hit occur. So I will never do that. I will never do that.
Well, no, yeah, not if you can't go back in the stadium. That's like your livelihood.
Yeah, exactly. So I would not. The only thing that I would possibly do. Hey, listen, there was that one guy who got in the dressing room and started asking questions, and I was like, "Damn, how did he get past?" He's like, no media credentials or anything, but was able to go in there, and he got called out. He's like, "Who's this guy?" And then they called him, and of course he's not allowed back in the stadium either. But
Sure.
yeah, so I'm not going to go streaking anytime real soon. Plus, nobody wants to see me streak at all. And I'm too slow. I wouldn't even get past like the 10-yard line.
They'd get you at the out of bounds marker. You wouldn't even get on screen.
Yeah, exactly. They'd be like, they wouldn't even disrupt the game. They'd be like, what are you doing? Get the freak out of here. You know what I mean? We caught you there, dumbass.
Right. Just walk up the tunnel. Like, we're not even going to escort you out. We know you're not fast enough to get away.
Exactly. So, obviously, before this all occurred, I had an event on Friday.
Yep.
Where I did a polar plunge. And I don't know if you guys saw the video, but have you guys ever did a polar plunge?
Yes.
Yeah. It is
so
very painful.
Yeah.
Honestly. And
well, I mean, see, Bo, I can understand where it'd be more painful for you. Down in Texas, I don't know what a polar plunge is. What, 60 degrees? What are
well?
You know what I mean?
I did it in Lake Michigan, a hole.
You were in Lake Michigan,
and it wasn't just dunking you into the tank. You had to walk your happy butt out there in Lake Michigan, up to your neck, wait 10 seconds, and then walk your happy butt back. So there, and it was damn cold. There's ice and snow and all that crap. And at one point, I thought I saw a penguin. I think that was thermia.
Well, I tell you, I did the jump, and first off, I am not a fan of that type of stuff at all. I am not somebody who wants to go jumping in the water and cold water. So it's just I grew up with a pool. I know what it's like when you jump into cold water, like when you open the pool, like in like early May, and it's not there yet. And we used to use well water to fill up the pool, and that pool would be every bit of like 48 degrees.
Yeah.
Right.
Jump in the pool and your body goes into hypothermic shock almost. It's like,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's what this was like. That's exactly what this was like. And I tried to record it. I tell you, the phone held up pretty well because I did go jump in the pool with the phone. I did check it out ahead of time. I was like, okay, is this phone waterproof? He said, yeah. It said, yes, you could take it almost 2 meters down and keep it there for 30 minutes before it would start to go bad. I'm like, well, I'm going to be in and out of this pool in like 10 seconds.
Yep.
And everybody was doing cannonballs and jumping jacks and everything. I did a front flip. Yeah, and I've never done a front flip before in my life. So I did a front flip, and I mean, it sucked. It absolutely sucked. Jumping in cold water. I am not a fan. I did not like it a little bit, but it was for a great cause. I was able to raise a few $100s for the Special Olympics. They loved the energy. They loved, all the excitement that I brought to them for that. And, and then I went home, got changed, and went to the Flyers game that night. So
nice.
It's been.
Now, if you ever run one of the Tough Mudder races, that's actually just one of the obstacles. Is they fill a cargo trailer full of ice and water, and you actually have to jump in, swim out under a wall, and then out the other side.
Oh, there you go. You know what I noticed though, Bo, and in Paris, is when you jump into the water, the first 6 seconds does hurt. I mean, that's the initial shock. But once you get past the 6 seconds, your body does kind of sort of quickly acclimate to it. Enough to where it's not as bad. Now, when you get out, like at least it did for me. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's not pleasant, right? I mean,
Right.
I was never scared of it because I'd been in ice baths and stuff, for injuries and whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's not fun. And I mean, during one of the tough
I'm not saying
mutters,
it's fun, but it's certainly easier that way than just walking out into that mug.
yeah, I mean, but
you know what I'm saying?
That being said, like it hits everybody different because we
does.
watched someone during one of the tough mutter races actually go down and convulse because it hit him that hard. Like they got out the other side and collapsed. So I mean, it really depends on who you are. It's a good thing that all of those events have medical staff around.
Yeah, there was a diver in the pool just in case your body went into shock right away.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're thinking about this. They do have some Special Olympic athletes that jump in this pool.
Yeah.
And, who knows how they're going to take to it? How their body's going to react. I know how my body reacted. My body was like, "Get me the hell out of here!" You know what I mean? As quickly as possible. Like it was freaking cold. And
because their body will make that adrenaline that's going to get you out of there.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I've never done ice baths. It's not my thing. I'm not really interested. I haven't tried the cryogenic chamber. I would maybe try that since you walk in and it's warm and then you freeze and then you come out and you're like, oh, okay. But your head's above. So it's a little different there. But it's being cold's not my thing. Being overly hot's not my thing either. I would like to stay somewhere in the 80-degree range.
That's fair.
But you know what though? But I have heard, that there is long-term health benefits to doing that, like as part of a routine, right? But I'm like you, Pags. I'm not doing it. I can't. Not all the time. I can do it.
So,
okay, for
how many turned pink behind me? That is a good question. That is a very good question. Nobody, because there. So it wasn't the hairspray all came off. So there was no hairspray left. Everything right here ran down onto my jersey. So it was like there was a big streak of. So, but I did not wear my World Series jersey into this. I brought 2 jerseys so I could switch out into another one because I was not going to take the opportunity of chance that my jersey was going to become pink. So I did switch jerseys and it did all come out, which was great. But it was very cold. I know. And it's funny because when you watch my video, the video stopped as it hit the water. The phone did do a shock. It was like, turning off now because it just hit the water. So when I got back out, I did my video saying how bad it sucked. And somebody else got a picture of it. And somebody did take a video of me in slow motion doing the
Oh,
flip,
that's cool. That's cool.
which was kind of awesome in the process, but it was also, I mean, I look like a kid doing a flip. You know what I mean? Like how an 8-year-old, if he wanted to try to do a front flip, I was already like crouched down just so that I had to kick my feet above my head so I could fall into the water.
Nice.
It wasn't like I did a front flip like these guys in football could just flip themselves. I'm not that guy. You know what I mean? I'm not as nimble as that.
Yeah.
So, but I did it. And it was a lot of fun, and it was for a great cause, and we got to raise some money. And they said, "Hey, we're going to invite you again next year." And then, of course, other people are like, "Hey, you did that one. You should come do ours." And I'm like, "No."
Yeah, I'm not trying to get a full schedule of polar plunges.
Yeah, like it's like okay, we are. Yeah, I'm not running in like because I'd be such a wimp. Like I would go to try to run into the water, like trying to go run into Lake Michigan. I'm running in. I get to ankles deep. I'm like, guess what? That's polar enough for me. I'm out.
Yeah. No, it's funny. I went to
it's like needles are going into your skin.
It's zero fun. I actually signed up to do one that was like that, where you run into the lake. I was going to do one here at Lake Washington, and this was years ago. But it ended up snowing that day, and I was like, "There's no way I'm going to go for a run, right? Because it was like I want to say it was like a 10K, right? So you're going to run, and then at the end of it, do the polar plunge. And I was like, first, I'm not going to try and die in a bunch of snow on the road running in it, and second, I'm not going to run into a lake that's surrounded in snow.
Well, not only
like, you
that,
know
but
what?
not only that, but now you've got way different elevations of your body. You've
Sure.
just run, so you're going to be overly heated when you have that flash of cold water that smacks you. Like your body could possibly go into shock there. So it's not,
Right.
and you know what? I've thought about doing the Tough Mudders. So the problem with the Tough Mudders is that I know that they have three different levels. And I would have to do
No,
like the
so
5K level because
so they don't. The Tough Mudder is one thing. You're thinking of the Spartan race, and
yes.
those are three different levels.
Yeah,
All of
that's
them are
Spartan. I
fun.
heard that's pretty insane. I've heard
All of them are fun. All of them are fun.
Yes,
My first
I
year
would do
doing
the
the Tough
Spartan
Mudder,
race.
my first year doing the Tough Mudder, I actually qualified for the 24-hour Tough Mudder, and I did not go do that. That sounded terrible.
Yeah. I don't know how So one of the other events that I do is like I'll ride a stationary bike because I can't ride a bike. I don't know how to ride a bike. So
Oh, yeah?
it's like oh my God, you want to? They put me on a bike one time, and it was like on a boardwalk near a beach.
Okay.
And I went down the hill into the beach. You can't ride a bike in sand.
Not effectively.
No, no, and that's what wound up happening. In fact, the sand acts like a big brake.
Yeah, pretty
And
much.
I flipped over, and that was about the last time I was on a bike whatsoever.
That's awesome.
But
So
on a
obviously you don't
stationary
ride a
bike,
motorcycle then.
no, motorcycles, like I will wind up killing myself on a motorcycle. So no on that. But I wound up doing this. They have a 24-hour ride where it's stationary bikes and it's for service dogs, for service animals, for veterans. And
Yeah.
I rode the bike for an hour. Now I came there as the Philly sports guy, was wearing jeans. I wasn't really expecting to ride anything. I was just there to pump people up. And I got on the bike for an hour. There's two things I learned about being on a bike for an hour. One, your legs hurt afterwards. Two,
Oh,
your
yeah.
ass hurts because that bike seat is nowhere near
Yeah, it
comfortable.
hurts like hell.
Oh my
I
God.
hate
It was
that
like,
seat.
I next time I come do this, I'm bringing an extra pillow so that I can put the pillow on the seat because I ain't used to having something that small that I got to sit on and
Yeah,
ride the
you
bike.
usually have something a little bit bigger. Oh,
I mean, you just get up out the seat. That's what you do.
Yeah, well, you'd have to stand up to do that, and I wasn't going to do that. I just was learning. Like I said, it was, I did do like 15 kilometers. Maybe
Okay.
it was more than that, or maybe it was like 12 miles. I don't know if it was kilometers or miles. I think it might have been miles actually. Like so, it was
yeah.
like in the hour, throughout the course of the hour, which was I thought was pretty good for me. You know what I mean? For somebody who
Well,
never
an
rides a
hour's
bike.
good, though. Well, it depends on how much tension you got on there too, because that tension can wear you out. Or if you're going
Well,
back and
no,
forth with the
because,
tension.
because the more tension, if you got the more power,
Yeah.
you're going further faster. So
Well, that's true as well.
it was able to, like, it was kind of able to wean that out. But it was a 24-hour bike ride. I was like, I couldn't do it for 24 hours. I talked to somebody who was doing the entire bike ride for 24 hours. And I'm like, wow, that's a lot.
impressive.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. And I don't know how your knees handle all that. For me, it was always the knees that really hurt real bad.
So if that's the case,
Interesting.
your seat's wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Adjustment.
So not only that, but there was a guy who was he was trying to break the burpee record, the 24-hour burpee record.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah, and this
I did them burpees. After about 5-6 seconds, I'm done. I'm cooked. You want to tell me 24 hours of burpees?
well, that's what this guy does. He does these endurance challenges, and he's an ex-military guy. And he was just in this place. He wasn't really set up for success. They had fans on him and stuff like that, but they had him in a corner. You could tell that he was starting to overheat and such. I just didn't think he was going to be able to do it. He lasted 6 hours, and then he started cramping up too badly. I had to stop.
6
and I
hours
put a
is
plug on
pretty
it.
damn impressive.
No, that's impressive.
Yeah. Oh no. Like, and he had gone 24 hours before, and maybe set the record. He was breaking his own record or something, but
Oh, gotcha.
yeah, because ultimately when you're doing a burpee like that, he would lay out on the floor flat. Like he's just like doing all the things flat,
Yeah,
back up again
yeah,
and doing that.
Now
So
that's impressive. That's like those
it
people
is
that run the
impressive.
super Ironmans. Those super Ironmans are crazy.
I don't even care if
So
you're
I have a
flat or
buddy.
not. 6 hours is still that's impressive.
No, for sure.
Well, I don't know about the super Ironmans. I don't know what the difference is from that and a regular Ironman.
It's
But
like
I have a buddy who
it's basically
runs the Ironman competition in Atlantic City.
yeah, it's basically 3 times the length in all 3 phases.
So it's 100 miles. That's
Yeah.
like 110 miles.
Yeah, like it's
Oh,
crazy.
wow.
It's crazy.
That's crazy. That is crazy. I
I
thought
could-
just doing a little 10-kilometer run and Savannah over the bridge was, for me, that was like a super Ironman or whatever.
Well, I
But
do.
still, I mean,
I do a 5K. I only do one 5K a year, and I do
Right.
it in shoulder pads and football gear.
that's pretty
So,
cool.
and I do it for the Eagles Autism Challenge, and I've done it. I've done it for the last couple of years, and I tell you, it's better to take a picture with me before the race than after. Because I definitely
Yeah, I would
look like
imagine so. Yeah.
like a sweaty
I
mess.
used to be the guy with the American flag, and I'd be running up and down. I don't do it anymore. My knees are gone now, but back in the day, yeah, I used to enjoy that. But I ain't doing no 6 hours of burpees. I'd rather run 8 miles than do 6 hours of burpees. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, I'm not even doing a burpee. The only burpee I'm doing is after a beer.
Yeah.
I bet you Bo could win that one though. Bo could go 24 hours of burpee on a beer.
If you do a 24-hour burpee,
man, hey,
Yeah,
I got
exactly.
Buffalo Wild Wings last night for the Super Bowl game, and I was telling the wife, I said, man, I wish old Bo was here. I said, I feel like it's not the same without having Bo here.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, clearly they had the remote. It went into overtime. Like,
see, that would have been perfect. That'd have been perfect if he made it over there. Buffalo Wild Wings, we still have not received your call yet. So that'll be the last time we mention you guys all season long until you become a sponsor.
Yes. Please contact Bo.
Yeah, that's right.
He's in seat number 3.
So, but yeah, so and we are, and just to let anybody else know, we are looking for sponsors for this show. So
Absolutely.
if you would like to sponsor this show, it doesn't cost a tremendous amount of money. So you can definitely come join us. Get your name up there in lights, as we will stop, every half hour and say, yeah, we want a big shout out to our sponsor, you. So, but anyways, that's
absolutely.
anything else going on in the sports world. I know yesterday was doing, it was just whatever. So,
Yeah, I can honestly say I'd looked at 0 other sports during.
Well, I'm still waiting to find out who my defensive coordinator is, as they moved on from Zimmer. So,
oh, did they not hire him?
Yeah, no, they moved on from him. I thought they were going to hire him, but from everything else in red, they moved on from him.
It sure looked like they were hiring him.
Well, that's what I thought. So now it makes me question, okay, well, who's out there left to get?
Well, there's one person out there that's left to get, except he intimidates people too much. Mike Vrabel.
That's right.
Yeah.
Also, I did read something that Belichick has already gotten requests for next year's coaching jobs by pro teams. So that's very interesting to me when a pro team approaches a coach for the potential of firing their existing coach.
Oh, that is.
I mean, it doesn't sound like they moved on from him.
Everything I read said that. I mean, I want to say I read, and I know I read. I believe I read it on Breach Reports, where I believe I read it.
I got you. I mean, CBS Sports is still reporting that Mike Zimmer is one of the front runners. Candidate Rex Ryan also potentially in the mix still.
I think if I had the choice between the two of those guys, I'd much rather have Rex Ryan. I don't know.
Oh, me too.
Me too.
If I had the choice. There's no question, especially in a scenario where there's the potential of McCarthy getting fired and a coach on your roster or on your staff getting elevated. I'd rather have Ryan than Zimmer.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. I have to show this picture. Hopefully it'll show. There he is right there. Mr. Bowl Cut himself.
Oh, yeah. Can't read what it says, though.
Nah, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Raiders eyeing up trade from number 13 pick to land a new quarterback.
Oh, yeah. I heard that. Yeah. So, Mark Davis is you would think with all the money he has, he could get someone that could cut his hair. Not even necessarily better.
Wouldn't you think that? It literally looks like he goes to Supercut and say, "Don't even worry about blending."
Oh, I was thinking he just did it in the mirror. He just
that's what I figured. And he puts the bowl on his head and just cuts around. That's what I figured.
Cuts around. Says, "Hell with the blending."
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I just left it as he could pay someone to do it, because it looks like he doesn't.
Or maybe he says, "You know what? I got so much damn money, it ain't gonna matter."
Well, I mean, apparently he's not wrong. Because he's had that same haircut forever. And he's still a billionaire, so it doesn't matter, I guess.
Hey, you know what they say? Sometimes, money talks and everything else walks.
It always does. That is exactly the case.
Ain't that some stuff? Well, Cowboys, I hope you don't hire Zimmer, but if you do, well, fuck it.
Then we'll both have question marks going into the season. Is Zimmer the right guy for the defense? Is Kellen Moore the right guy for the offense of the Eagles? So it'll be.
I got to tell you, Pags, I really am curious to see how next season unfolds, man. Like I really am curious to see how you guys bounce back from the tail end of last season into the playoffs. I'm curious to see how all that pans out for you guys.
Oh, you know what? I take it back.
I pray for the Cowboys, but it's always stereotypically the same crap. So
I know what it's going to be for the Cowboys. They're going to go grab Brandon Staley, and then McCarthy gets fired.
Well, I'd like to say I would be shocked.
How about you guys hiring Durday as your defensive coordinator?
No, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason for that is McDonald is your defensive coordinator.
Right.
So he needs a guy that can be on the field and, basically run guys through practice and all of that. But at the end of the day, McDonald is your defensive coordinator as far as calling defensive plays. So you weren't going to get a big name as a DC because you're not going to use him as a DC. You're going to use him as a facilitator. You're not going to use him as the actual DC.
Well, it's the same thing they do with Brian Shanahan. He's not really. They have him as the OC, but he's really the behind the scenes guy because you know that Mike McCarthy calls all the plays.
No, exactly, and that's why you're not going to take.
He's almost like a facilitator to run them through stuff.
Correct. Yeah. No, that's exactly why if you have a coach that is either a good OC or a good DC, whatever person they have in that role isn't going to be a dominant figure in that position group because they're not going to use them that way. So you're not going to pay a guy to not do that job.
So we're basically head coach with OC, DC, and then a bunch of facilitators. So really, it's just Mike McCarthy with facilitators.
Yeah.
So, and we'll talk about that other stuff tomorrow. We'll talk about all the offensive, defensive coordinators tomorrow that are still available and how many positions are left in the NFL. Also, the NFL's approved 8 international games starting next year. So we'll talk about. Yes, well, listen. There's more. There's definitely more coming. So,
sure.
But we'll talk about all that tomorrow since we are at the end of our show. So, everybody, thank you very much for joining us on this Super Bowl recap of the Coast to Coast. And come tune in to us tomorrow where we find out who is going to be the defensive coordinator of Dallas and why they're going to suck so bad at it. And also, how many games are they going to play internationally next year? Because I think they're the ones that actually open up the Spain. If I could bet, I would say that the Dallas Cowboys will be playing a game in Spain next year because they don't go international very much.
They don't no, probably at all.
Yeah.
So awesome. That might be Jones just crying. He don't like to go overseas. He wants to stay over in one spot. But anyways, thank you guys for all the messages and everything and hanging with us all day today. We'll see you again tomorrow. Everybody have a great day.